So I'm very pleased to welcome Peter Fian, and I would really, at this point, I think I'm just going to hand over, and this is going to be running until probably about 1:45 or so, and then we'll just take a little break at about 1:45 for people that assemble food and get ourselves sorted for the next part of things. So Peter, welcome and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you so much all for coming. That's great. It's great to see you all here. And this is going to be about improvisation and how it came out in the book, and how the book created improvisation and vice versa. That you're all capable of improvising and that you all have all the skills you need already to improvise. It's not really, it's definitely not just the area of jazz and blues. Improvisation is for all. Also to show you how the book came from improvisation, and it has improvisational qualities within it. Most of them have the chord changes or the harmonies easy to see, and so we can improvise over that. And Vanessa and Andrew are going to help me show all these different improvisation techniques. All right, so really what I'm trying to say is that you're ready to leap in straight away, but the leaping in is the hard bit. What makes it hard for us is that we're already quite skilled. You're used to playing extremely good pieces, listening to really good pieces, and we want to be at that level, but you're not going to be there straight away. So sometimes our desire to be really good, our desire to play really well can work negatively against us. We really just want to leap in and do the improvisation, and all the motivation comes from the doing. So the more you do it, the more fun you have with it, and the freer you get with it. So I often use children as a great example for improvisation, in that children, when they're just used to being themselves, they believe they can dance and sing just simply because they do, and they don't really have any critical thoughts about what they're doing, they just do it. So that is the great resource for improvisation, be like the kids are, and just have some fun with it. We're going to use 3 pieces just to show improvisational things on. One is an Alberti bass, one's just got some chords, and the others have got a drone. Now you can find these types of things in your music anywhere, and go for simple. We're going to avoid harmony just because it's tricky. So really all you just want to do is get a simple scale, and as we discovered, I wrote a lot of things in E flat. So we're going to be using a lot of E flat, or just some simple notes, and like let the student find the notes, or you find the notes. We don't need to get into conversations about pentatonic scales and things with them. A couple of really good quotes. You're only a semitone off the right note anyway. So really just keep that in mind, because it really, if you start and go a bit crazy or you're starting to feel uncomfortable about what you're playing, just move it, just slightly, and consider the semitone that you were out, creating tension in your music, and the release is finding the right note. And you'll feel the release in yourself too. There's sometimes inwardly we can be having moments. And the other one I wanted to quote was Victor Wooten, who an exceptionally good bass player who believes that the wrong notes are the interesting ones. So keep those in mind. So space is the most useful, but probably the most neglected tool of improvisation. It does so much with it, but so often we get perhaps excited or perhaps nervous or just feel we have to fill all the gaps, and we don't. Eke out your lines. After a while, if you've been improvising over anything, you might get quite a quick line, and you might be enjoying it, but if you actually rather than actually go different places. So Vanessa and I are going to show you some things on space. If you do that, if you eke out your lines and you don't put all your notes up front, you've got somewhere to go, somewhere to tell your story, because really that's what you're doing. You're telling someone a story about how you feel about this music or whatever you're trying to improvise. So you can create space, not necessarily just by gaps, but rests and long notes, and then repeat the same lines that you've been using with the less notes. I love this about space, and I do use it a bit. I try and use it in lots of ways, is that a little pause in what you're going to say will allow people to have a chance to hear what you've said. Now, if you play a chord and you really like it, but you follow it by another 5, 6 chords, they're not going to hear that. If you play a chord and you leave it hanging, they'll hear it, and if it was special to you, it's probably special to them. And it's that sort of thing. Now, most of you would have had students playing something similar to this in an Alberti bass, or in this particular one, the changes, the chords are really simple. It's only 1, 5, 7, and 4. So, what we're going to do is we're just going to start improvising for a while, so as Vanessa or whoever you're working with can get an opportunity to just get at the keys and play over. And there is absolutely nothing that can ever be wrong with this. Let's leave it and do it. So, are you feeling ready?
Sure.
Feeling good.
As ready as always.
Okay. So now I'll play the left, and the key is F.
Yep.
And
so I can just stick to the notes that belong to the scale.
yes, absolutely, and they will all work. Now, lots of those guys' ideas were really good. Something that happened, which I thought was really good, and you possibly not going to like for this, but when Vanessa came around to start doing this, I discovered that Vanessa was actually a good improviser. I know you probably don't.
I don't think I am.
And you will have times when students just, they don't know what to do, or you'll get and all you do is just go, yeah, keep going. And if they get one note out of it, then try and get 2 the next line. And just until they get relaxed with it. Now, you didn't have trouble with that, you just leapt straight in, which is great. But it's the big point for improvisation. So now I want you to play again. This time we're just going to look for a line and mess with it. So, you went, right? So, what you could do for gaps. Sometimes it feels a little uncomfortable leaving total space there. So a long note will achieve the same thing. And rests, yeah, and rests. I personally really like rests. I like the use of silence and improvisation because it really creates more possibilities. Okay.
Yep.
Wow. And that's just developing the idea. Now let's hit this a bit and see if we can do something similar there. So first of all, just play until you find something to like. I'll just keep going over and over the four. So you might notice that we don't pay a lot of attention to the structure of the piece. We just pick up the bits we want and play with it. It really is not.
And I'm not paying any attention to the structure. I'm just sticking to the notes that belong to the clear beat.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And you just listen.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. One,
Yep.
Okay, now that's great. Look yourself like that as a line, right? Just, it was good.
Okay.
What I'd like you to do is this time try and play that the second time, but the time before, play those sorts of ideas with either longer notes or not as many. So it's taking that line and dropping stuff out.
I'll try and remember what I did.
Oh, and if you get that wrong, it doesn't matter because it's improvisation, but it just
Okay.
gives you places to go all
Yeah.
the time. All right. One, two, three. So those are the sort of things that we can do with space. Rests, long notes, and pretty much thematic. That's the main thing of the tune. Oh, coming off into is probably the end of it, but that was the main line, and I kept trying to go forward, and then I realised, well, actually, no, that's the end point. So the same thing has been developed here. And then back at that thing, etc. So that's, as much as it may not sound straight off, is this idea here with less notes, long notes, and less statement. And right at the very beginning of the tune, we just pick up a little chunk. That is also, so this is what I mean about thematic development in your improvisation and solos. If you've got a really good idea, put it at the end and build yourself up to it. We're going to play Bliss, but now we're going to play it in a different way. show them just what you can do with things. And these tunes and this particular collection of pieces have been designed for people to do that with. In any way or shape or fashion, it's been really nice, thank you, Andrew, to having another instrument. Let's talk about articulation first and dynamics. We're going to deal with it the same improvisation sections because they kind of interplay into each other so much. But they are such useful tools, again, and this is why I want to get at them as far as improvisation is concerned. How we speak and how we say something or how we say our notes really imparts a lot more information than necessarily the notes used or even the words used. So we can put that into our improvisations quite easily. We can tell our story better with articulations because we can impart emotions. Like, for instance, staccato can impart agitation. And again, we create change, we create contrast, some place for our story to go. In the book I got into history of, sorry, I'll start that again, The History of Jazz by Ted Joy. It was a great book, it really was, but there was one little passage in it that really relates to what we're doing here today. And it was talking about a lesson with Sidney Bechet, who was a great jazz player of earlier times. And they were talking about, today we're only going to play one note. And with that one note, you're going to play it as many different ways as you possibly can. You're going to blat it, you're going to bend it, you're going to play it flat, you're going to get it sharp, you're going to staccato it. And the whole idea here is that there are so many ways of playing a note. So now, for instruments like vocal, guitar, violins, horns, bending's an option, which is great because that really gets into the bluesy type of sound thing. We can't do that on the piano, but we can do this. So we kind of get around it in that way. Pedal is a useful one for piano, and I'm going to show that in the next tune we use, just how often, if you don't use the pedal and then drop it in, how beautiful that can make something be. Dynamics, really, it's the same. Gives you a place to go. But there's a couple of interesting things you might want to note in your own work, that you think about teaching different pieces of tunes to students. One of the very first things we try to teach them is that when you play something again, you treat it as an echo and play it softer. So we're trying to already get that kind of idea into their mind. And we are also trying to show our students how they can increase their musical pleasure by really getting into their dynamics, shaping the lines and all that type of stuff. So they are already there to a degree. And one of the things I like to suggest is extreme dynamics. Extreme dynamics are great. They're a great way of being expressive. I particularly like extremely softs at the moment. Dresses, shape your ideas. You might have a good idea, and a lot of players will, when they get some of their faster ideas, you know, and all that type of stuff, and they're really into the notes and the playing. But that can be just, you know, if you shape something, it always says something better. So, you know, always have a purpose or a place to go in your dynamics. Have a reason. You might be staying on the same flat dynamic for a reason, because you might be wanting to drive something forward. But have that reason for doing it rather than... try some improvisation and practice and try and get the students to improvise. Vanessa is a really good improviser, as you're starting to notice. You won't get those results from your students. But what you do is just be pleased with whatever you get and just keep moving forward. All right, so now, Andrea, can we jam out on that part of the way? This section here is what the whole tune came from, which seems weird when you hear the whole tune, but it has. And what Andrea and I are going to do is we're going to jam out over those, which is really just, I've got a B flat sus, and A flat sharp on it. All of this is really E flat major. You just go with. And it's just the chords I'm putting underneath it. So we'll jam out on that, and then I'll take the articulation thing into the front to show you how that was all used to create what sounds completely different, but it's really is just the same idea. Just mess with it. Nice little gentle sounds. A pedal placed over a chord that just, because it hasn't been used before, now it sounds good. And you can just leave those things hanging. So this is just really an example of what you can do with improvisation, and yeah, of course this is written down, but it came from improvisation, by using the different tricks available to you within articulation and dynamic. No pedal to create space later on. This is like bending notes, all those different types of articulation, the roll that we've got. And the pedal. But any questions about what I've talked about so far?
At some stage before this is over, I'm trying to teach someone elephant swim.
Oh, cool.
And I literally put it in front of her because it was one of the few ones in here that didn't have improvisation options, because I felt shy about teaching it. And now I'm realising I'm teaching it to strict. We're trying to cope with triplets, and I'm teaching it in too strict a way mathematically. So I would love for you to play elephant swim at some point, but just when you suits you.
Yeah, okay.
And children love it because
We should
you
explain
can
that.
imagine the elephants.
Have you taught it too?
Yeah, but you see, I do all of these real straight, and I love them. Straight.
Well, that
And it's
actually,
completely different from how I used to do Peter. But, you know, that's how I feel comfortable. I mean, no improvisation, of course, at the moment. But it's just lovely to play them straight. But, you know, you play them, and, I mean, that's the idea. We're free to play them however we like.
yeah, so I really do think playing them straight is a good thing to do.
Okay.
And I did the book that way because I found over years some people just, improvisation puts them right off. So having a score to read is really good for them.
I was wondering with Andrea, how much practice have you done with this? Because it sounds great. I mean, both of you sound great, but not much with Peter. We had one hour session, but I listened to his recordings a lot, and I played over the top of his recordings, and I worked out what notes sounded nice and what notes don't. And so there would be lots of times I would play it and then do like a series of wrong notes, and then I'd stop and I'm like, no, this is not going anywhere, and try again. I haven't done a lot with Peter specifically, but I just take the scale and kind of go backwards and forwards and work out what might be nice.
Although we did have a fun time.
We did.
That
was great
good.
fun. Good cup of tea.
And it was a great way of getting into improvisation. Pick up your favourite CDs, whack them on, and play along. You know, you get to jam out with Prince or your favourite artist or whatever, and you can even attend them in a room if you like. But it can be quite fun, and you could just get a nice, simple harmonic chunk and go through it. So it is a great way to practice your improvisation.
Like blatting and bending, blatting.
Blatting?
Blatting and bending.
Or blatting?
Grace notes or something, partituras on the piano.
No, blatting is really when a hall player or any player that's an instrument hits the note and doesn't really concern themselves too much with the quality of the sound. They just blat it out, blat rather than a nice clean note. And that can be a very effective thing to do at times. So, and the bending is, for us, it's just, we had to do that sort of stuff using ornaments. This came from a song clearly about elephants. I'm not sure if it was a documentary or I had fallen asleep during a documentary, which often happens to me. Or it might have been just the visit to the Auckland Zoo when I was checking out the elephants there, and I find them extraordinary. There's about something like 40,000 muscles just in the trunk. It's just an extraordinary animal. There is a part in that actually answers blatting too. Those notes put in there, the B flat and the B natural, are meant to be there because to create this whole sort of the opening sound, the elephant trumpet, the whole. So that's the kind of thing that you can do to create blatting on the piano. Chucking some
So what are you
notes.
calling it? Latin.
But that was well, that came from the history of jazz, that particular expression, but I have heard it before. But yeah, it's just sometimes using that opening sound. So it can be really effective. Ostinatos, repeats, and sequences, and bar sizes. All those are really useful for creating your story. We already, in our music, I'm sure we all do this, use repeats within what we're dealing with the student to show how form works. Rather than leaving into binary or ternary or anything, they say, see that repeat there? This often happens in music, and then we bring them forward later. We already use echoes on straight repeats, but we're using it to show form. Sometimes with your students, look for good ideas and then get them to do things with it. The problem is they won't think the ideas are good. You'll have to find them. They'll probably be nervous about doing a new thing, and they'll probably also be in that mode, I'm not necessarily that good at this. Which is not true. If they're improvising, it's great. Keep coming back at the same idea, it might change, doesn't matter, but it creates form and structure within your music. So it's close to an ostinato, you might say. But you never worry in improvisation whether it's exact, and sometimes it's better if it's not. Or move the same idea throughout the keys, and therefore it's a sequence. But it really, again, doesn't matter how accurate it is. It's just finding places to go, something to increase the story. Carlos Santana, an amazing guitarist, he's got this wonderful saying, which I want to quote, is give yourself chills first. And what he's talking about is do lines that make you happy, and then the rest will come to you. And it's very true. Like if you like playing like Bartok, play like Bartok. Make sure you're happy with it, the rest will come. The idea that this is actually a language and that we are conversing. So you want to get that idea across to them, because then you want to really emphasise listening. Now, I don't know anyone who gets involved in this sort of thing that doesn't go on about listening, because it's one of the big parts of improvisation, is listening to others, listening to what you're doing, listening to what's going on. Now, the conversational part of this language thing means that we can use question and answer, which I don't think anyone would find unusual, but you can do it with your student in that you can get them to do it for themselves, or you can do it in a duet form, which you and I will do in a moment. Listen to each other and listen to self, and be very happy to change. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Things don't have to be even. I know we talk about 2-bar chunks and 4-bar chunks, but it doesn't really matter if they change a little. And don't be polite. If you're soloing with somebody and you could come in a little early, okay, it will make it more interesting. It's a bit like... so to speak, you can say to a student, any white key, B flat, if you want.
It sounds quite minorish to me.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. So it's like a D minor.
Okay.
And so like
So could I put
C sharp.
C sharp?
If you want. Yeah, absolutely. So how about to start off with, just have a rummage.
Okay.
Now I tend to call it just a rummage with the students. You can call it anything you like, but just find a word that doesn't have pressure attached to it. Structure. So first of all, you've got that. You played that one?
Yeah.
So I want you to find lots of different ways of playing that, even if you just keep playing the same thing.
Okay.
And you might move it up. This might be an idea to try to, or anything you like. So we're just going to experiment with that kind of coming back to an idea and moving it.
Can you just do it again?
Oh. So that's the sort of thing I'm talking about, coming back in ideas, exploring, just ostinato sequences, bar chunks. Now we're going to use some bar chunks as we can do some question and answer with each other. Okay, 2 bars?
Okay.
Yeah, sweet. And we're just going to jam this out, all right? Do you want the question or the answer?
I'll answer you.
Okay. They've worked hard for you in a lesson, you can see they're tired. You just, let's just jam out into the lesson. And they'll enjoy that and they'll like that. And at the same time, you've got their fingers going, you've got them engaged in the music. Now, one of the good things about imagery is not all your students really have a lot of skills, because they might have only just turned up. But you can start improvisation off very early. And I like using imagery myself for improvising, like Elephant Swim, for instance, had a bit of that with the whole, this is what an elephant swims like. But I find the imagery with students can be really good, and it's good. There's no mistakes. There is no mistake at all that you can make in imagery. And they don't really need to know the names of the notes. All they need to be able to do is push some keys down or play a little bit on their string instrument or whatever. So I really like imagery from that point of view, but I also like it from the point of view of just letting go and having some fun. So the nice thing about imagery is it also can be personal. So like you can get a student to make up a song about their pet, and it really doesn't matter what it is, it's just a song about their pet. Some other tricks that I have used is I have had students turn up with artwork that they've done at school or at home, and then made up piano to go with the artwork. It's fun for them, and it makes piano fun for them all the time. Imagery is a wonderful place to go because it doesn't have to engage too much number crunching. Okay, could you play me a spider, please?
Any key?
Any key. Yes. Could you play me a spider, please? Exactly. Just a little bit. Cool, thank you. Now, could you put your thoughts forward about why that was inspiring?
I was thinking about my son's bedroom and the spider in the corner of his bed, and the fact that it kind of crawled out a lot every time I make the bed. So my spider was crawling around in different directions with its antennae out.
Cool. Love it.
And then
Yeah.
I was thinking Incy Wincy spider climbing up the spout.
All right, now, because I have a quite different view of spiders, this is what I would come up with.
So that's, yeah, and this is the type of things that you can do with your students. Shall we do one more? What would you do for a train? Yeah, see, this is a song. That's great. Yeah. What would you do for a train? Choice. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And the sort of thing I might do would actually be very similar. But I might just sort of get the track noise down here a bit, the track noise, and then perhaps put a whistle on it. That kind of thing. And you just go back and forth on these ideas, and perhaps let them. It's really great. And does anybody want to choose an idea? Don't have to.
Sure. Donuts.
Okay. Who's going?
Me.
Okay.
Randomly. Yeah, if I was to play a donut, I might be.
And
You
so,
can make a donut, food donut.
a good musician topic, really, isn't it? Food, you know.
Who's hungry? Can you go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because I'm quite partial to food. So I would probably be tempted to put down sort of like a nice, smooth kind of chord. That sort of thing. Do you want to go? And nothing can be wrong. Yeah, thank you. All right. So, that is kind of the thing with imagery. Sorry?
It didn't really feel like a donut.
Oh, you didn't think so? I suppose you could have gone for a circle. I'm not quite sure how you would like circle round or something, but as I say, there's not a wrong answer to this. And it, sorry?
I was thinking it would cool and then putting something into it.
Oh, like
Sprinkles.
that. Do you want to show me?
Just sort of like going.
Absolutely. So the whole idea of this is you can have so much fun. A lot of what we're doing now covers everything that we've talked about really, but we used rain dance because rain dance is this whole imagery thing. to improvise if you want to. The sounds, they're $28.50 for a hard copy, and if you like PDFs, which a lot of people do these days, they're $23.50. They are all recorded, and they're on my YouTube channel. If you really do want to get into the whole jazz stuff, as far as the core knowledge, the understanding of the jazz theory is concerned, here's your man. Just about. I've looked at a lot of different books and I've been confused by a lot of different things, but I find the way he explains stuff is really good. So I would suggest for all that information, those two books. I really like the jazz theory book. It's a little thick, but it's great. But you might prefer just to get the jazz piano, which is also good. A lot of recommended tunes too, which is very useful. Again, the book club has brought me onto or book chat, I believe we call it, has brought me onto this book here, which I've only gone through once. Your Brain on Art. It's amazing, really. One of the parts that it's got in there that I highly recommend, it's about a bit, is disposable art, and this is what we're doing. And how good it is for you, how good it is to expand you as a person, creatively, disposable art. She actually talks a lot about just painting and then painting over it, which is kind of what we do as improvisers. We just play something, and try something else, and then try something. Andrea and I would play out on a couple of tunes and then take any questions that you would like to throw my way. So, the two tunes chosen, I thought we'd have to do High Tide, High Garden because the book's called High Tide, High Garden. It seems a shame not to. And then I thought we would do Resolve because this is the end of our year. wanted to get an indication, you could listen to the recording. But I don't necessarily want you to always play it the way I do anyway.
No.
So, you know,
Just get an idea, you know.
yeah, and go with what you're comfortable with. I've noticed through playing these pieces and hearing other people's pieces playing these pieces, I play them a lot quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that's because I've just been playing them so long. But I don't think others have to play them that quick. I'm quite happy for people to play them at the speed that they're going to enjoy them at. In fact, you know, I'd like to take the, I think it was Mark that said this, approach to a lot of music, whereas, you know, everything after that, the title, is optional. So, yeah, it's really just do what you like with it and treat the music as a bit of an inspiration for what you're going to do with it. But yeah, you can play them as written too, but everything is flexible.
How would you teach children? I mean, you probably answered it like anything after that is, you know, flexible, you can improvise, but for example, the elephant swimming, I haven't heard it before today, but it's so beautiful. If we want to teach younger children who perhaps can't read to that level yet, how would you teach them? Would you play a phrase for them to copy or show them the right hand, just improvise the left hand?
With that particular tune or any
Yeah,
particular
for
tune?
example, use that as an example. How would you teach a younger player who, you know, perhaps can play but can't read to that level yet?
Oh, well, I'd probably start on an easier tune. The elephant swim is, it's got polyrhythms in it, so
Yes.
they might not enjoy that. But if they wanted to give it a try, give it a try. I often do what you're talking about with the modelling and
Yeah,
playing.
do you
Yes,
show them,
yeah.
and can they always?
Sometimes it depends. The funny thing I find with students, if they're really dead keen on the tune, even if it's 3 or 4 grades ahead of where they're at, they'll give it their best because they want to do that.
Are you thinking of writing a beginner's level of that kind
Yeah.
of?
I am thinking of writing a beginner's level of blues, nice, simple blues book.
Those little improv pieces you and Vanessa were doing, where did they come from?
They came from the book. Oh, sorry. No, I just wrote. I just made them up.
They available on you?
Yeah.
Are they in the book?
No. But if anyone sends me an email, I can send you all the copies.
Thank you.
Just a wee question. What notation program do you use for writing your scores?
Oh well, I use several things. I use MuseScore, but I'm very gifted in that I have Lynn in my life. And she has transferred them all onto Sibelius and helped me nut out all the details and stuff like that. So as much as I do like MuseScore, because I can recommend it to students, it's free, and that's a really good thing for parents' budgets and students, and it's very small on the computer. Sibelius is better, but then I also had, as I said, I had Lynn Wendon help me with that, and therefore I got all Lynn's skills as well for the layout, the structure.
So the wee ones that you've done there,
They're just MuseScore. Yeah.
But new school's getting better and better
Yes,
all the
but-
time.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
All the things you mentioned and isolated are just so applicable to teaching, you know, standard classical music, and hopefully, you know, we're doing it. But it's wonderful to have highlighted the structure, the articulation, that it's all to do with telling a story, and you know, making it sort of so much a personal, human thing. But you know, its composer has got all these little articulation marks or whatever. What do you think they're doing? Anyway, helps. It's so applicable to our basic teaching. But also, what's really been interesting hearing you today and other times is the way that you have come about arriving at this final product, which has been finding an idea, you know, that you've loved, and as you said, the first one, it's actually ended up the last idea of the piece.
Yes.
You know, that, you know, rather than thinking I'm going to compose or suggesting to a student, I'm going to, you know, let's do some composition, we'll start with this and we will go, or whatever. You know, it's just been so interesting going along this journey with you too.
Yes,
You know,
true.
and hearing how the pieces have evolved. That
this improvisation thing is, no doubt, we know Mozart used it, all of the composers, well, perhaps until sometime in the 20th century, their lives were filled with improvisation, and sometimes they had time to write it down.
Margaret, do you encourage students to record themselves when they have a really good idea? Because I find a lot of the time they discover something and it's wonderful, but when they come back to it and try and repeat it later, it's gone. They just can't, well, it happened to myself as well.
Yes.
I just wondered, do you encourage them to use devices?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like if I've got an idea and I like it, I pull out the phone, I put it on. Sometimes I don't go back to it, sometimes I do. But before that, I used to have these wonderful ideas, just like you're talking about, Peter, and I'd sort of have to go to bed or something, and then you come back and go, oh, where is it? Oh, I can't find it. And it'd be frustrating. Now I record them, come back down the next day and have a listen and go, oh, actually, no, that wasn't really a very good idea. But at least you're not disappointed about where this wonderful idea went. So yeah, I really highly recommend recording all the time, especially all you've got to do is pull out your cell phone, just